All right, you guys, good morning, and welcome to what is one of our last calls of the E-Myth series. I'm sure I'll keep bringing it up because this guy's got all kinds of material on it, but for those of you who have not joined us or who have joined us from the last couple of weeks, we have been, well, first of all, we've been doing these calls for like what seems almost like a year. Since September, I think we started, but for those of you who have been with us for the last couple of weeks, you know that we have been developing on this whole concept of the importance of creating systems within our business. And, what I want to do on today's call is I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I am going to have what might seem as an unreasonable request for this group. And that is, I would like to hear what you have gotten from this call series. I know that every time at the end I open up the lines for any questions or any comments, and it seems it's like really timid group here that I have here that doesn't really want to share or don't have any questions. But because we're coming to the end of it, what I want to do is I want to open it up with a couple of comments and questions, and then I'm going to go into the 6 steps of a selling series. And once you do those 6 steps, what is it that you go through 3 things to be able to, so the first thing that we're going to cover is what have you gotten from this call series, anything that you would like to share, any questions you may have. Then for the last, 15, 20 minutes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you 2 things. I'm going to share with you the 6 steps of selling series that every business must have and implement with their sales team. I know we don't have like a sales team, but our distributors technically in the regular world would be called like our sales team. The 6 steps that we have to have in our business. And then once you are actually going in for the sale, what are the steps for the appointment presentation, the need analysis, and the solution presentation, and what are the components within each of those 3 steps to make sure that people or that your sales team or yourself actually are effective with your clients so that you leave them not only super interested in what you have, but if they don't buy right there on the spot, that they won't forget you. So that's what we're going to be covering. But for me to get to that material, I would like to start the call, and I haven't muted the line. So if you have muted yourself because you're in a noisy place, please maintain yourself on mute unless you want to go to a quiet place. Other than that, I would love to hear from you guys. What have you gotten from this call? Anything you would like to share, any impact that it has had on yourself, your business, or your lifestyle, or any comments or questions that you may have. So who would like to share, please? By the way, I'm not moving forward with the call until you guys speak up. Okay?
I guess I can share first.
All right, thank you, Hector.
Yes, this is Hector from Oakland. I think one of the things that stands out the most, I haven't unfortunately been on every call the whole time, but the one that really I adapted really quickly to and used was when we did the 4 quadrants as far as people and their personalities. Like, is that right? Like what they tend to be drawn towards and whatnot. So that really changed when I started talking to people and really paying attention to how they were talking, what they were talking about, and really allowed me to adjust how I talked to them and what I talked about. And it was very interesting and kind of exciting to watch it work.
Awesome. Thank you. And for those of you who are not on that call, I'm not going to do the call, obviously, but we went through like the 4 different kinds of personalities and what tendencies people have so that you can speak into their listening. All right? So that's exactly what you've been doing, Hector, and this can apply to your relationships, your business, your children. I mean, really anybody that is in front of you. So many times we're so concerned about what we want to say, which is kind of what I'm going to a little bit contradict what I've been teaching with where I'm going to learn, but you guys are smart enough to adapt it, and that is not so much, yes, we have an agenda, yes, we have a script, yes, we have steps that we have to follow, but if we could get present to who is in front of you and be able to adapt into their listening, like what is important to them, you are so much more effective with your presentation. So thank you so much for sharing. Okay, who else would like to share? I'll wait 30 minutes until somebody says
I'll do
something.
share. I'll do share.
Thank you.
What I learned, I got a lot of information I didn't know about. I got a lot of knowledge, and that knowledge for me is equal power because I didn't know how to have those information, but you provided to me. You give me a lot of knowledge, and that knowledge give me power where I can use it effectively. And that's what I got. I got power from your knowledge.
Thank you. All right, great. Anybody else? What have you learned? What have you been implementing? Or do you have any questions about anything that we've been covering so far? You guys are so funny. You know, this is like a leadership call, and leaders step up. So I'm going to invite you to step up.
I think what I've
Who's
done,
this?
Kimberly from Fresno.
Hi, Kimberly. Thank you for being a leader and stepping up. Go ahead, honey.
Hi, Kim.
Hi. Honestly, like a lot of these calls have helped me become a better person just because I never really knew how to even go about leading anyone or helping anyone, I guess you could say. And I really liked when we did when you were talking about a game, like a system, almost like the players and where if you have a system, a set system, and how like people want to play the game that you have. Do you remember that?
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Oh no, and I really took a lot from that. I take a lot from every single call, but for the most part, all of these have really made me a better person. I know I could probably implement them a lot more, and so I'm really excited to start doing that.
But but first of all, thank you. But here's my question to you, and this is for everybody as well, is how has it made you a better person?
I think, like, my mindset, like, the way I think, the way I interact with people, because I think I'm more understanding now.
Okay. Great. Anything else?
No, not that I could think of right now.
I'm nervous. So, okay. I'm sorry?
I said I'm nervous.
Oh, you're so sweet. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for being courageous and speaking up, because we've got so many people on the call and nobody's saying anything. And I'm going to ask for one more person to share before I move forward. But while you guys gather your thoughts of what you've learned, here's one of the things I want to contribute to what I just did with Kimberly. And that is, here's one of the things, you guys as leaders, okay, and every single one of you are leaders in some way, shape, or form, okay? Even if you have a puppy, you're the puppy's leader, okay? But here's one of the things you got to get with human beings is that so many times human beings, our brains can be very lazy and have a tendency to want to take the easy way out. So if you want to be effective with other people, not only do you want to listen, etc., but here's the thing you want to get is that unless the person gets it for themselves, they won't get it. So many times we want to tell people what they've got. So let's just say, like right now, Kimberly said, it's made me a better person. And I say, oh, great, Kimberly, thank you for sharing. And I leave it at that. While I'm very grateful, and I'm sure she got that she's become a better person, but by me asking her questions like, okay, well, how is that? Now her brain has to go in and research, okay, how was it? How is that? And the brain will start to find the answer. Remember, on one of the calls, I don't know when it was, we talked about the brain will never contradict you. Never, ever, ever. So the moment you ask it yourself, or even you say something like, oh, man, why am I so dumb? The brain will immediately shoot out and give you all the list of answers of why that is. So right now when I asked Kimberly, how has it allowed you to, how has it made you a better person? Her brain had to process. And by her saying it, now it becomes real. By her saying it, now she owns it. So I just want to, I don't want you guys, here's the thing I want you guys to, I would encourage you to get this, and that is whenever you're in front of anyone, you're at an STS, you're speaking, or I'm gonna invite you to not only listen from what knowledge can you get, what context can you gather, but really start to listen to people, especially if they something that you find valuable, and that is, why are they asking why are they saying what they're saying? How are they asking what they're asking? What outcome? I mean, you guys get your brains to start being completely engaged. So whenever I go to an STS or I go to Leadership Development Weekend or I go to an extravaganza, I don't just listen to the information. I watch how they deliver it, how they say it, how they move, why. I'm like, oh, that's a good one. I wonder why he said that. And I'm constantly analyzing, therefore allowing me to become a better leader. So thank you so much for that, Kimberly. All right, one more person before we move on to the context. Who would like to share what they've gotten from these calls so far? I will keep drinking my shake until somebody says something.
This is Mario from Fresno.
Thank you, Mario.
No problem. I feel like these calls have just really helped me fill in the gap. I feel that.
Have what? Can you speak up? You're really far away.
These calls have really helped me fill in the gap. As far as areas where I'm a little gray, or maybe I think I know what I'm doing. It just kind of helps me see it a different way and approach situations differently than I would have before, which ultimately helps me out and makes less. I try to make less mistakes, I guess I would say, with my words, how I talk to people.
So would you say that it's made you more aware of yourself and how you land? How your words land with other people?
I would say definitely.
All right, great. So thank you, Mario. Okay, so here's the deal. One of the things I'm going to share with you is that, and then I'm going to start with the context here in 2 minutes, and that is one of the things that we have really, really, really stressed upon, and that is everything starts with self-awareness. It does not matter what you say if you're not clear on if you're not present to how you're saying it. Because you could tell somebody I love you in very different tone of voices, but it's how you say it that will determine how it lands with that other person. And what I mean by that is being responsible about what you say is really important, but also equally, if not even more important, being responsible as to how things land with people. You see, so many times we start talking and this is I'm gonna start building on the context here on the sales systems, and this will finalize our e-myth calls, but next week, I think in the next series I'm going to start bringing up to you is really what does it look like to be effective in selling? And but it all starts with you really having a self-awareness, you being self-aware, you having knowledge is okay, I'm saying something, but don't just talk like you're talking to a wall. When you have a human being in front of you, I'm really going to encourage you to be present to how they're responding to what you are saying. Because otherwise, this is why it's a little frustrating for me sometimes with these calls, because I'm wondering what's landing over there with you, which is why today when I was listening to the e-myth and I was putting together the context for today, I was thinking, you know what, I need to ask them. I need to ask them what's landing, because when you're on the phone, it is quite challenging because you don't have that person in front of you to see their facial expressions, to see are they fidgeting, are they crossing their arms, or are they totally present and engaged with you. But unless, which is what Hector was talking, is unless you get where they're coming from, what kind of personality they have, and the more you see that and the more you're present to how they're responding, the more effective you will be in whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish with that person. Even if it's just a relationship, you tell your significant other, boyfriend or girlfriend, you know what, I want to go here, and then that person puts a big smile on their face, they're enrolled. That sounds like a great idea. You say, you know what, I feel why don't we go hiking? And they go, oh, sure. And they frown while they're saying sure. Now you can guess that that's not, if you're present, you can guess that what you said didn't land in a very lovely way, right? That person is not thinking that's a great idea. So, what Mario said is so important, especially when it comes to sales. So let's go ahead and start developing this material. I hope you have a piece of paper and a pencil, because today I'm really going to give you steps. All right, and if you don't, then you want to go back and listen to this call. You'll be available for the whole week until our next call. All right, so here we go. I'm going to go kind of fast because the next series will really develop this even further, deeper, or in Herbalife terms, we'll penetrate through this a lot further, okay, a lot deeper. All right, so here we go. So why are we been talking about systems? And that is when you have your business in a system, which is why Herbalife is so effective. We've got the system of boot camps, whatever days your calendar, your HOM, your quick starts, your fit camps, your STSs, leadership development weekends, extravaganza. And the more you can plug in and the more people you plug into a system, the more effective your business will be. And the less you will have to work. I think if I can honestly say, I was talking to somebody over the weekend, and I was telling him, I said, I have to tell you, if I could think back of why my business grew so fast, it's because I didn't know it was a system, but I had a system with everything. And one of the things we're going to start to develop is, that 80% of your check is delivered by 20% of the people. And 80% of your sales volume is done by 20% of the people. But here's the problem. The 80% that are not as productive do not know what that 20% is doing. I want you to just think about that for a second. The 20%, your top guys that are actually being productive, that are totally doing the deal, they're being very effective because they're doing something that 80% is not. Now, you can sit here and argue that it's because the 20% have more drive, whatever. But I can almost guarantee you that if you really stop and talk to these 20% have a system. They have some way of doing things. They have somehow of delivering the information in a particular way. Now, granted, it always varies slightly, but generally speaking, they have a step-by-step system. So in case you don't have a team and you're like, well, I don't have that 20% because I am the only thing here, I'm going to share with you the 6 steps that you want to deliver on. And if you do have a team, I'm going to encourage you. Your homework is, if you really want to be effective, get that 20% and go, you know what? I would like to ask you, Bob, Mary, and Joe, what are you doing? Take me through the process of how you were able to generate 20 clients last week or last month. Tell me exactly what you did. I bet you they have a system. They don't know they do, but they do. So let's talk about a 6-step system that we can all, generally speaking, we can use. Here we go. Number 1 is we must identify, okay, so write this down, identify specific benchmarks. We call them in Herbalife gauges. Identify specific benchmarks, meaning things that you have to hit, or in other words, gauges, steps, gauges, okay? Number 1, identify specific benchmarks, or better yet, they're consumer decision points, okay? Just write that down. We'll build on that in a minute. Number 2, you want to have scripts for each of these benchmarks. In other words, you want to have a script for each step. Okay? Number 2, scripts for each step. Now, here's the thing. Your brains might be like, what is she talking about? Well, here's the deal. You might have a specific script on how to prospect people. Hey, you might have, you might be at the gym, and all of a sudden you strike a conversation with the person next to you, depending on their interest. For example, there was this guy at the treadmill this morning. He was running, he had these amazing legs, right? So personally, I always try to find something to say nice about somebody, right? So I was like, oh my God, dude, are you a runner? You have some really awesome calves. And he's like, oh man, thanks. And I'm like, and anyway, long story short, we started talking a little bit. And then I said, how do you get all this energy to be able to run? It's always been continuous because, I work with a nutritional company, and, in the morning I have my drink, et cetera. So last week I did a double. I had all this energy. I had Nightworks and tea in the morning. At the gym, I had a pair, bit of 3 a.m. Needless to say, I was flying. So I had all this energy. So I did a double class, and the girl that was sitting next to me, you did class back to back. What was it? You know what? I started taking this new thing. Gives you tons of energy, but doesn't make you all jittery. And I just have so much energy that I'm just I might as well kill it because summer's coming around. All right, so that's what I mean. You have a specific script. Now that my little script is now going to have interest. Then I'm going to take is what are those steps and what scripts you possibly use in order to get somebody who become a prospect, and a prospect to give you an appointment. A phone number and a phone number to an appointment, etc. To get somebody interested, when you invite somebody to an HOM or to a quick start or a fit camp, the scripts that you have, once they're at fit camp, what do you say to have them, to invite them over to try a shake sample? And then from a script, you get the idea, okay? And they don't have to be long, but you have them in the back pocket so you can pull them out and use them as needed. So that's number 2. So number 1 is identify the specific decision points or the benchmarks that you need for your selling process. Number 2 is have a specific or have scripts for each of these steps. Number 3, you must have a creation of materials to be used for each step. Okay, so your creation of materials, and here's the thing you want to get. One of the biggest and most important things, write this down right next to that, is have preparation. Be prepared. So if you are going to be, for example, today at the gym, okay, I will confess, I was not prepared. I didn't have any business cards on me, right? But if had I had one, I probably could have told the girl, with the double class, that if you ever want some samples, hit me up, I'll bring you some, right? Now I could have told her that regardless. She didn't show any interest. Therefore, I knew that she was just curious and not interested. Okay, so I didn't move further with it. But the point is, you want to be prepared. Had she been like, oh, really, what's that about? I could have had a little mini catalog, which I didn't have with me. So you want to be prepared. And the reason being, and this is one of the things you've got to tell your new guys, is always have something on you. A mini brochure, a business card. Sometimes people go, oh, I need to get these business cards. You can start by those little mini brochures, the before and after pictures, the Herbalife 24 mini brochures. And the reason being, especially when you start, for you guys who have new people in your business, is that it's important for them to have that because it makes them feel more confident. Because it allows them to take the attention off them and give them something of value, whether it's a little catalog, a business card, whatever. Okay? So number 3, creation of materials for each step. Number 4, you've got to memorize each of these benchmarks. Okay, and we're going to further this in the future calls, but what do I mean by that? So many times, business and especially sales is a system, meaning that you first do this, then you do this, then you do this. You don't meet if you want to be effective, you don't meet somebody and for example, me at the class with the girl that did class double class, I'm not going to turn to her and say, oh, yeah, you want to buy some lift-offs? Right? That's wait, what? Who are you? I don't even know your name. I didn't even get related. I didn't even do a presentation. I didn't even ask her any questions, and I went straight for the sale, right? And you don't do that. At least you don't do that if you want to be effective. There's a way, a process, a system that you must follow in order to increase your level of effectiveness. Therefore, number 4 is memorize each of those steps. Memorize each of those benchmarks. Okay, number 5, deliver. You must have a mastery or have a system on how you're going to deliver each script Okay? So in other words, how are you going to, how can I say this? Like, what kind of questions are you going to ask? So yes, number 2 is you got to have the script. But step number 5 is you must have like an ability to be able to, for you to be able to have an effective system, you as a leader must have a clear definition of what kind of delivery must happen on each of those steps. Okay, and I'm going to go through this later, but what I mean by this is, for example, you deliver a question or you ask a question and you shut up and you wait for that other person to answer. That's a delivery technique. So many times we'll ask a question, especially as women, we get very impatient, especially if we're talking to another man, because men process what seems for a woman forever. You ask them a question, and a woman will immediately answer back. Are you interested? Yes or no? Boom, she answers, right? A man, you say, are you interested? The man's brain starts to analyze, process, and then like what seems like an eternity, then answers. So you must be able to know, yes, I have a script, but how are you going to deliver that script? How are you going to deliver that information is equally, if not even more important. All right, and number 6, and here's so important, you as a leader, in your systems, yes, you must identify what are the best benchmarks. Yes, you must create a script for your team. Yes, you have to create a material for them to deliver. You've got to have them memorize each step. Yes, you have to teach them how to deliver each of those scripts. But here's the thing. You've got to be willing to have room for leaving people how can I say this appropriately? Let me see. Okay, so here's the thing. You must leave people, there must be a space or room for people to communicate effectively. And what I mean by this is there has to be an open forum where your team, your sales guys, and you as well can share with them a way to articulate the information, but you also must in place where you can be watching, you can listen, you can acknowledge them, you can understand them better, you can be more engaged with them. Because if you can leave room to watch them, listen to them, make things like that, they're the prospects. Because they know that there is somebody there to support them. Okay? So that's the 6th step. And I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to do these next 3 really fast, and then we'll build on them next week. So in conclusion, this is what you as the leader must have in place. These 6 steps must have in place in order for you to be effective. Now, once you do this, I'm just going to give you the steps since you guys took forever to share. We're running out of time, but I'm just going to give them to you. You write them down, and next week we will develop on them. And number 1 is you've got to have an appointment presentation. So once you have all these systems in place, like these 6 steps, you as a leader are training your sales guys. Now you're going to show them the 3 steps in order to close a sale. Number 1, they've got to have an appointment presentation. Number 2, the appointment presentation is exactly that, just to give them an appointment, so that they can move into the second number step, and that is a need analysis, where they start to develop a need for their product. And how they do this is by 3 steps. Number 1, they re-engage whatever promise they made on the appointment. So in the appointment presentation that they said, how would you like to have a wellness evaluation, whatever, we'll build on this next week. This is why you guys should have not taken 15 minutes to share, because it took forever to get you guys to say something. But I'm going to speed through this, you guys, so hopefully you guys don't mind me talking so fast. But in the appointment presentation, you made a promise. Like, you're like, I'm going to show you how to lose 10 pounds, whatever. On the need analysis, the first thing you got to do is you got to say, hey, Mary, I know that we have this appointment because you're really committed to losing those 10 pounds. So that is reminding them of why you're there with them. Okay, super important. You can't assume that they remember. You got to remind them, and their brain goes, oh, yeah, now they're re-engaged. Number 2, you're going to talk about how you're going to proceed on that promise. Number 2, how you're going to proceed with that promise. Number 3, you're going to establish credibility with them. And you're going to establish credibility in a couple of ways. Number 1, you're going to talk about our company's expertise in this matter. In other words, you're going to talk about all the Herbalife facts, the years, all that stuff. That's why you got to go to the STSs. So if you don't know the Herbalife facts, you've got to get those in the presentation or memorize them. You want to, number 1, establish credibility through giving them the company's expertise. Number 2, you establish credibility by sharing with them your personal willingness to utilize that expertise for their specific results. So they get, in this case, your personal willingness to make sure that they lose is you've got to understand, you got to have them understand. But a system and why it's going to work. But okay, and number 3, sorry guys, I'm going over time here. Number 3 is the solutions presentation. So the whole need analysis, you've established the company's expertise, your willingness, you understand their needs, and now you're going to talk about how this is going to work for them, the impact that they will have. And once you do that, right, and you're going to now say, we have a solution presentation. And how you're going to do the solution presentation is that you're going to be able to, whether you do a personal weight loss challenge, or you do a personal wellness evaluation, or you do an Anita, the thing that shows the weight and the fat and the muscles and your age, whatever. Okay? So now that you've established the need that they have and you have them get that you get where they're coming from, now you can give them a solution. You cannot skip the second step. You cannot skip them knowing that you know their need, because it is from people say that selling is closing, and I love what Michael Gerber said. He said, no, it's not. Selling is opening the prospects awareness of what they need, opening the prospects awareness of their quote unquote pain and suffering of that need, and opening the prospects awareness of how you have the solution to that need. So step number 3 in the solution presentation, you've got to understand, you want to let them know, I understand what's bothering you. Don't say it in those words, okay? But you got to communicate with them that you get them and how you're going to go about solving their quote unquote problem, challenge, whatever. How you're going to help them lose those 10 pounds. Is that I'm going to do a questionnaire, and then, and then those steps, I will cover them next week. I've already gone past 5 minutes. But so in conclusion, you guys, the 3 steps is the appointment presentation, the need analysis, and the solution presentation. We'll further this conversation next week, but I want you guys to get one thing. If you don't get anything from today's call, is this. You must have a step-by-step system. And it doesn't have to be like so rigid, right? But you've got to have mentally, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. The more you can develop that system, the easier it is for you to teach somebody, the easier it is for them to duplicate, and the more confident that your team will have because they feel prepared with scripts, with material, with knowing that there's a fit camp, with knowing that there's an HOM, etc. All right? So I apologize for going over by 5 minutes. But, you know, you guys, I'm really going to encourage you, and I really hope, and I say this from the bottom of my heart, that when I ask for you guys to share, be a contribution to each other. You know, not only does it fulfill me to know that my time is well invested and that you guys really are getting something, selfishly, yes, I want to hear. But also, by you sharing what you've gotten, it will allow somebody else's mindset to open and go, oh, that's a good idea. I didn't hear that, or I missed that call, whatever, right? So I'm going to invite you guys, you know, to please be willing to show up. Because how you show up here is how you show up out in life, you know. And all I have to say is thank you for everybody who's been on the calls. I really want to acknowledge you for, you know, it's been several months now, and we're, you know, almost, I think, coming into like 9 months or something doing these calls. So for those of you who have been with us since the beginning, congratulations. For those of you who have just joined, you know, we've completed this E-Myth series. But we're going to start developing the next series. Will be all about the selling techniques and the steps and the mindset and the psychology of selling. Because at the end of the day, that's really, you know, nothing in this world operates without a sale. Nothing, you know. And for those people who say, I hate sales, well, it's just because they have a negative connotation or association with it. And we're going to start changing that mindset because at the end of the day, without sales, the economy, there would be no economy. So without any more hesitation, thank you for everything. We'll listen to you guys in next week's call. If you have any questions, any comments, please feel free to reach out. But know that this call is recorded until next week, okay? So sorry for speaking so fast and sorry for going over time. I will hear you guys next week call. May God bless each and every one of you. Don't forget to meditate, invest in your body, invest in your relationships, invest in your spirituality, and, of course, invest in your business. God bless you, and we'll hear you next week. Bye-bye.